All right, imagine this. A mom leaves her 14-year-old daughter in charge because she's got to go to work. The preschool's closed due to the coronavirus, so she can't drop off her younger children. Daughter's at home because school's online due to the pandemic. So, mom thinks, this is a solution, at least to the problem for the time being. Mom goes off to the office a couple of hours, comes back and discovers the youngest child spent about 10 minutes at the neighbor's house. He snuck out, went to the neighbor's house for about 10 minutes. The neighbor called the police. The police are there when mom gets back home. They say, hey, we just wanted to let you know what happened. Everything's fine. Hope you have a great day. Took her information down. Well, a week later, the police showed back up and hauled mom away to jail. To discuss this case, I want to bring in Melissa Henderson. Melissa, what was your reaction as police came back to your house and ultimately put you in the car and took you to jail?
Well, at first I wasn't quite sure. They were so reassuring. They were like, "Don't worry, there's nothing to worry about." So, my initial reaction was, "What happened? What's wrong?" And when they were like, "Oh, nothing happened, nothing's wrong," I was like, "Okay, well, just thank you for letting me know." Like I felt relieved. Just like, "Oh, okay, well, great. I'm glad everything's okay." And then literally, there wasn't much more to that.
So, as I mentioned previously, your son went to the neighbor's house. Were you and the neighbor friends? I mean, did you know her well enough for your kids to just be hanging out?
Well, we have children that are all the same age, and her older children and my children have sports together and have had sports together maybe the last 6 or 7 years. So I've seen her almost every sports season, almost every day. And then we've worked together for raising money for a fundraiser for one of the boys that was on our son's sports teams as well. So I knew she had ways to get in touch with me, and um, you know, we had a decent history of seeing each other regularly.
And I would imagine that relationship is not as dandy as it once was.
I really don't know what to think about it, to be honest with you. She doesn't really talk to me or see me. She's kind of where I am, but we just don't interact. So I just kind of left it alone.
So the charge is reckless conduct. I noticed that you were offered a plea deal. Some might say, why not just take the plea deal and call it a day?
My response to that is if I were to take that plea deal, it's like saying I'm guilty when I know in my heart that I did not do anything wrong. And for them to even offer that to me, it was almost everything except for the prison part of the full extent of being guilty. And so to me, it was saying, oh, I did do something wrong when I know I didn't. So I am determined to fight all the way through until they understand that, you really didn't do anything wrong as well, you know.
And speaking of fighting it all the way through, I want to bring in your attorney now, Mr. Delugas. David, how confident are you that you will ultimately prevail in this case?
Well, Jackson, I've been an attorney for a long time, and predicting what judges will do and appellate judges will do is not a winning proposition. However, that said, I know intellectually as a lawyer and as a human being looking at this case as your audience is and people around the country are, it should be dismissed. Now, the trial court has this in its hands. It can make that decision to toss this out, which would be quashing the accusation, and follow the 1997 Georgia Supreme Court case. But if the judge doesn't, the next step would be to appeal to the Georgia Supreme Court and get them to weigh in. Only if we lose in both venues would we then go to a jury trial. And at a jury trial, I would like to believe no jury would convict this mother of reckless conduct as the statute is written, given particularly the Georgia guidelines from the Department of Family and Children's Services that literally says, sure, it's fine if you use a 12 or older sibling to care for other siblings for up to 12 hours. So that's part of what's preposterous.
You mentioned earlier you filed a motion to have this quashed. Has the court not gotten back to you? Is there not a deadline on that?
Well, the answer is no. The answer is judges are busy. I don't deny that. That they take the cases as they come across their desk, and they have staff attorneys who present them with what is next on the agenda. Maybe they have a trial, or they have a lengthy trial, or they have another action to handle or dispose of. But in the meantime, people like Melissa are literally blowing in the wind, waiting to see the outcome to determine, does she go to the Georgia Supreme Court? Does she have to go to trial? So it doesn't really go away. It's lingering out there and weighing on her and her family, especially the eldest, who is the one caring for. And let me clarify one thing, and as part of the issue across the country as far as criminal justice, she was offered a pre-trial diversion. It's like a carrot. Hey, you don't even have to plead guilty, but if you want to avoid the possibility that you're going to get convicted, here's what we're going to tempt you with. We're going to say, pay a fine, go take a parenting class, agree not to let anybody care for your kids other than an adult for a period of 12 months. And at the end of that, oh, and do 20 hours of community service. At the end of that, we'll dismiss this. It's as if it's literally they have the power to try to influence. And it's not just Melissa, it's all criminal defendants find themselves in the, do I take the easy way out? If you get a ticket, a traffic citation, the temptation is I'll pay the $65 rather than go to court and contest it, because it's not worth my time or energy, and I'm probably going to get convicted anyway. So it's one of the issues I think about the abuse of power that we have in our country.
You mentioned this had been weighing on the family. I want to bring Melissa back now. I mean, how is your family doing right now? Does your daughter feel a sense of guilt? I can't help but think she might, seeing all of the media coverage about this case and, potentially thinking, hey, Mom, I was in charge and ultimately he got out for a few minutes.
Right. Well, I think initially she had just that panic feeling, like what did I do, Mom? Like I did everything I was supposed to do. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. And that's where I felt like I needed to make sure I've been consistently there for her and say, this can happen to anybody. It does happen to people all the time. It's not just you. You weren't not watching him. You weren't, not taking care of your responsibilities. It happens to adults, it happens to every parent with any young child. And that just reassuring her that she is doing a good job, and that she is truly one of the most responsible people I've ever met, especially for a child. I mean, she's a teenager, but she's been this way, self-driven and just completely responsible for anything that she is supposed to take care of her whole life. So it's something that I feel she has pride that she is a responsible child. And for someone to be like, oh, well, you were irresponsible and you weren't doing what you were supposed to do, I feel like that to her, she feels like, but I tried my best. I was doing what I was told to do, and so that has kind of crushed her a bit, I believe, and then just the attention from it, anything negative like that, it's hard to kind of navigate through, even if I'm the one telling her you're not the one responsible. It's not something that you should hold inside, but she is still getting it from different areas saying, well, what did you do? What did you do wrong? And it's hard for anybody to handle that. It's even hard for me, much less, a teenager.
I want to jump back a little bit. What are you told before you're hauled away when the police showed up?
Well, I'm given a phone call, and they said that they had set up everything and for me to come in and turn myself in. And I had said, well, I'm going to need a little bit of time. I've got to find someone to watch all the kids. It's not like I could just leave them there. And I said, once I have that taken care of, I'll come on down. Honestly, when he called and told me that, I was shocked because I did not expect him to say that at all. And so when he did, I just remember kind of panicking and saying, okay, okay, I'll take care of it, and called David. But then before I was even able to get there, before the babysitter even showed up, they showed up at my house with 5 cop cars banging on the door, and the kids, were kind of like, "What's going on?" And you know, it was a little bit more than it needed to be. It's a lot more than it needed to be.
And I'm sure all of your neighbors saw this happen. It was right outside. How did that make you feel knowing that everybody was watching as they handcuffed you and took you away?
Yeah, it was, well, the way that it was handled, because they got there before the babysitter could, they were in the yard, on the front porch in my house for about 45 minutes, an hour, waiting on the babysitter to get there because she lived a couple towns over. So she was trying to get there as quickly as she could, but at the same time, it was just this whole ordeal going on. They were following me through my house if I needed to use the restroom, making me sit on the couch, keeping the kids in the back. The little ones, they did not understand at all. They just wanted to be near me, and the big ones were trying to keep them towards the back to kind of shield them from everything. And I mean, it was just a lot. It was very embarrassing. It was at the same time I felt responsibility to calm the kids and just be like, it's okay, when inside I'm just exploding kind of with anxiety, like I did not know what to do or what was next or if I could even believe what was going on. I didn't know really what their plans were, and I even didn't really know how to respond because I kept thinking, what did I do? What did I do wrong to this extent?
David, how did you come into the picture?
Well, Jackson, I'd like to tell you this part. Melissa happened to know that I had started Parents USA. Parents around the country know that Parents USA exists, and we have a toll-free number, and also an email address. But that said, when she called me, as a lawyer, I immediately went online and tried to see what does the law say about this situation. And in all the years I've practiced, I can safely say I don't think I've ever as quickly found a Supreme Court case that was on point, which literally means it's the same statute and it's a similar situation. And I found that I downloaded the PDF because in 1997, the Georgia Supreme Court had a case where a mother was charged with reckless conduct because she left her 11-year-old son in charge of a 5-year-old. Tragically, that child died, but the Georgia Supreme Court said the outcome is not what you base criminal charges on. It's what was the act that the mother did, and she entrusted the younger child to her teenage son. There's nothing criminal about it in the sense that this statute does not give fair warning to parents throughout the state who use babysitters all the time that somehow they're not supposed to do this. And I downloaded that. By the way, the other part of the Supreme Court opinion said that law enforcement would have way too much discretion to decide what is and what isn't reckless conduct. So it's vague and gives too much arbitrary authority to law enforcement. So it was struck down as unconstitutional. I downloaded the PDF and I sent it to the Assistant District Attorney's office, to the magistrate judge who had signed the arrest warrant, and contacted the deputy sheriff standing at her house waiting to arrest her, and said, take a breath, take a minute. You don't have to arrest her today. Look at this case and discuss it before you do. And they arrested her anyway. And that's part of we're the law enforcement. We can do what we want. We're the prosecutor. We have absolute immunity if we do something wrong. So we kind of don't care. At least that's what's conveyed. I can't get inside their heads, but it's as if we don't care what the law actually says. We are the law. And I think that's what gets me as a lawyer who believes in the law, the rule of law, but it's so often abused. So I wanted you and your viewers to know that.
How long were you in jail before your ex-husband bailed you out?
It was a few hours. I'm not sure exactly. I didn't have a watch or anything, but it felt like an eternity.
All right, I know this is a big case and so many people are watching. We'll be sure to follow up with you once everything is said and done. Thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And if you would like to help Melissa, there is a link to her GoFundMe page on my Facebook page.